Hello once again children. Now we are continuing with the last part of this lesson, active passive, video number 4. Now in this part we are going to be concentrating on conversion of imperative sentences into passive. In the previous module we were concentrating on the interrogative sentence. How do we convert interrogative sentence into their passive forms? Retaining the interrogative mark. Even after converting them into the passive, the sentence has to be in its interrogative form. Okay, now here we are going to be looking into how to go about converting imperative sentences into passive. Now, what are imperative sentences? We have already done in our previous 2 lessons also. Imperative sentence is nothing but when we are talking about commands or orders, advice or suggestion, request, or forbidding somebody, and all that comes under imperative sentence. Now just have a look at the words what I have written in blue. It is let for command or order, advice or suggestion it should be should, and you are requested to. Okay. Now these words in blue is nothing but these are the words that you are going to be using when you convert these imperative sentences into their passive forms. Okay. Now for example, if you have got, now just keep these 3 in mind. For command, your sentences should be using the word let. If you are having suggestion or advice, you should be using the word should, and for request you are going to be using you are requested to. Okay. Now leave that aside. Now we just going to look into sentences that begin with let. Sentences beginning with let. Okay. Now if you have got a sentence that begins with the let, has a subject plus a verb and the object, how are you going to convert it into its passive form? So when you convert it into its passive form, it will be let plus the subject plus be plus the past participle of the verb. Okay. So now here, if given an example is let the Prime Minister take the final decision. Okay. Here your sentence is starting with the word let. So how will you go about writing it in its passive form? Here you have got let plus the subject plus be plus the past participle of the verb. So let, as I told you, interchange of the subject and the verb positions, then the change in the verb, and then the introduction of the preposition by. So following all those rules, let the Prime Minister take the final decision. So here we are identifying the 3 basic things of the of a sentence: the subject, verb, and the object. So here we have identified, we got Prime Minister as a subject, take as a verb, the final decision as a object. Now how are you going to rewrite this into its passive form using the word let? So let the final decision be past participle taken by the Prime Minister. I have used the short form here, by the Prime Minister. So that is how you are going to be writing a sentence that begins with the word let in its passive form. Now in case the sentence begins with a command or an order. If the sentence is a command or an order, what is it that you have got to keep in mind to convert it into its passive form? So here, as I told you, remember those words in blue that we have written. So if your statement is in a command or in an order, you are going to introduce the word let plus a subject plus be plus a past participle and the object. So now here, for example, you have got the sentence blow the horn. Okay, blow the horn. So now here we have to identify the subject, we have to identify the verb, and we have to identify the object. Now blow. Blow is a word that signifies action. So that is the verb. The horn, object. Is there any more words in the sentences? No. So in this sentence, we do not have a subject, isn't it? The subject is missing. So when you convert it Also, when you convert it, the object takes the subject and the subject becomes the object in the passive form. What happens is the place that is reserved to write the object will be empty. So, here that's what I have written here, subject plus blow the horn. Here, and when you convert it, what happens? The horn is the object. Then when you rewrite it in its passive form, be plus past participle of the verb plus the this thing. So, since there is no subject here, naturally there is not going to be a subject in its passive form also. But here we will introduce the word that. So, here we are going to insert the word that. So, let the horn be blown. When you have got a statement that is a command or an order, blow the horn. So, when you rewrite it in its passive form, it will be let the horn be blown. So, did you all understand, children? If a statement is given in an imperative statement is in an order or in a command, when you convert it into the passive, you are going to introduce the word let and then convert it likewise using the form given there. Then, when you have got a suggestion or an advice, if your imperative statement is a suggestion or an advice, how will you go about converting that into an passive sentence? So, remember the word in blue that was given there, you would be using the word should. Sometimes the word must also may come. Okay. So, here if you have got subject plus verb as the object, when you convert it into the passive form, you will have subject plus the word should plus be plus the past participle of the verb. Now, for example, since it is a suggestion or an advice, so here an example again, take medicines at regular timings. Okay, an advice, suggestion. Take, in this sentence also we have to identify the subject, the verb and the object. Now, take is a word that denotes action, so it is a verb. Medicines at regular timing. So, medicines is your object, but that is the direct object. At regular times becomes your indirect object. So, in this sentence also something is missing. What is missing? Your subject is missing. So, when the subject is missing here, what happens when you convert it into the object? There also there will not be any object. So, here it is take medicines at regular timings. So, remember here what should be? The word should be introduced, that is should. So, here you have got the object there, medicines. So, medicines, then follow the form that has to be should, be, take is the word. So, past participle of this, taken at regular timings. So, that is how you are going to convert an advice or a suggestion into its passive form. So, should plus be is something that has to be introduced into those type of sentence. So, take medicines regularly, it is a suggestion, it is an advice. So, here first step is you have to identify the subject, verb and object. Then when we looked at it, we saw that the subject is missing, we have the verb, we have the object. So, here first step is the object becomes a subject. So, medicines, then you go about following the form to convert it into passive, should be past participle of the verb, verb is take, it becomes taken at regular timing. So, that is how you are going to get it in its passive form. Now, seeing the next example. Now, look at the example number 2. Give alms to the poor. Okay. Here also what happens? We identify the subject, verb and object. So, subject, when we see there is no subject, subject is missing. Verb, give. Alms is the object, then to the poor, indirect object. Okay. So, now how are you going to go? Alms should be given to the poor. Did you all get it, children? Alms, that is object. Then you will introduce should be, past participle of the verb, given to the poor. So, that is how you will convert a suggestion or an advice into its passive form. Now, if this sentence denotes some request, okay, it's a request, kindly, please. So, here when you convert it into its passive form, you will be introducing the word you are requested to. Your sentence will begin with. So, if you have got the words, you are requesting something, kindly, please are the words. So, when you convert it, you will be writing it you are requested to plus the past participle of the verb. So, kindly read this book. Kindly. What is kindly here? It is a request. So, request. So, when you replace that word kindly, you write you are requested to, then the past participle of the read this book. So, that is how you are converting it into the request form in the passive form. Now, if you have got a sentence there, please tie your seat belts. So, here again please, it is a request. Okay. So, you will replace the word please with what? You are requested to. So, then turn it into its passive. You are requested to tie your seat belts. So, that is how you are going to do. So, now finally do exercise V of your textbook, page 101 in your notebook, because there is no sufficient place. So, you have to then exercise X and Z1, Z and part 1 of it in your notebooks, and the other remaining exercises can be done in your text. So, with that we come to the end of this lesson and this module. Thank you, children.